Hey, I'm Allison Hare, a former corporate executive turned coach and keynote speaker for women making big moves. And I am on a mission. I'm on a mission to help you and me create more space and freedom and fulfillment in our overscheduled lives. Welcome to the Late Learner Podcast, where here we are ditching the outdated norms. You know, the ones we've all been taught to live in, and we find more modern solutions that just plain work better for you. So what are we late learning today? Well, I am convinced that once you hit 35, but really 40 plus, something dramatically changes where the first part of your life, everything prior to that, was truly being molded into what society would deem acceptable. Really the traditional path of success. Get the degree, get the fancy title, stable job with benefits, hustle hard, get married, have kids, blah, 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 blah. And then life will be easy street forever. You'll unlock fulfillment and happiness. All right, my bullshit meter broke. What really happens is you start feeling the friction of, wait a minute, I have everything I want, but I'm not even present enough to enjoy it. I'm stressed, I'm overscheduled, and I feel like maybe I have grown out of where I am, but now what? I feel this feeling of discontent with everything. Ugh. And so the real discovery begins. How do you unravel? Well, today we are talking with Victoria Albina about safely and powerfully returning to your youiest you, but even better. Victoria is a sought-after expert in codependency, perfectionism, people-pleasing, trauma responses. She is a master's certified somatic life coach, a UCSF-trained family nurse practitioner, and breathwork meditation guide. And she has a passion for helping women realize that they are their own best healers by reconnecting with our bodies and minds and reclaiming our joy. But what I was exceptionally interested in bringing you is her concept of emotional outsourcing and the difference between calming the nervous system and healing the nervous system. So she gives us tools and frameworks that really help us trust our own selves even more. You know, really our own sovereignty. And I also take her to task on some areas that I pushed back on hard. Y'all know I have opinions. And she really helps us reframe it where we are completely empowered. But before we jump in, I got to ask you, do you get my weekly newsletter called Reinvention Roadmap? It is a completely free way to go one-on-one with me. Every week, I'm going to send you relatable insights, brave strategies, and action steps for you to step into your next best chapter. And it always ends with a fun twist. Go to AllisonHare.com/email and you'll be on the list too. And also, if you are looking for a more personalized way to reinvent your future on your own terms, I've got a couple of spots left to work with me one-on-one with a 3-month outcome-driven coaching engagement. So if you've been considering making a big life change, or you want to start that podcast or make a career change, but you're not sure how to find the space and clarity to do it, let's just get on a free phone call to brainstorm. Go to AllisonHare.com/schedule. All right, let's get to our chat with Victoria Albina. Okay, I am so excited to welcome Victoria Albina. Welcome to Late Learner Podcast. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
I am so glad that you're here. And I'm going to dig right in because when I heard the words emotional outsourcing, I actually immediately associated with external validation. And I don't know if there is a correlation, but I immediately thought, yes, let's talk. And so, Victoria, can you help explain what is emotional outsourcing?
Yeah, so it's the term I came up with as an umbrella term for codependent, perfectionist, and people pleasing thinking. So I'm talking about thinking, mindsets, habits, ways of being, and not labels that we put on people, because I don't think it's very helpful to say, I am a people pleaser. I am a
Yeah.
codependent. Like, what? That's the rest of your life? You can't change that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not indelible, right? It's completely changeable. And so I realized that I had all of those habits, but none of those words really felt like who I was or what I was doing. And none of those words, codependent, perfectionist, people pleaser, really encapsulated the spirit, the gestalt, the energy of what I was doing, and that the political places it was coming from, like the societal places. And definitely those old terms weren't talking about the nervous system and the biological underpinnings of all these habits. So I needed a new term. And so emotional outsourcing is when we chronically and habitually source our sense of safety, worth, and value from everyone and everything outside of ourselves to our
Ah,
detriment instead of from within. So, yeah, external validation's definitely in there, right?
you know what? I had a lot of resistance to the words people pleasing, perfectionism, codependency, because when I think about sometimes people will market like I'm a confidence coach. I
Sure.
work with people who are chronic people pleasers. I don't identify as somebody that struggles with confidence or people pleasing. However, if you ask me, Allison, have you ever been in a boardroom where you were afraid to raise your hand because the people around you
Hmm.
all had Harvard degrees and seemed so much smarter? And I
Right.
would be like, yes,
Yeah.
twice.
Hmm.
And so it's a really interesting thing how some of those labels feel really limiting. But I feel like I don't necessarily identify ourselves in that way. And so I'd be so curious. I mean, you work in functional medicine, you are a certified breathwork meditation practitioner, somatic coach, and really live this life. What do you see? What do you see with the people that come into your world and your sphere, where it feels like an awakening that you see over and over and over again, but it almost feels like a blind spot, of like,
Mm. Yeah.
what is the blind spot that we may not recognize ourselves, that are kind of like, bing,
Yeah.
there's a way to do this in a healthier way.
Yeah. The two things that immediately came to me are authenticity. And this is another sort of not word that I use a lot, choicefulness. So many of us think we're living in our authenticity because, well, I don't know. Of course I'm being me. Who else would I
Yeah.
be? But when we are in emotional outsourcing, we are so profoundly living for other people to create our experience. We're working to
Mm,
try to keep them happy, keep the Harvard guys in the boardroom from having like bad thoughts about us, right? And so we
yes.
shift and shunt who we are so that others, their story about us takes primacy over our own.
That is really profound. And I
Mm,
think that I have been guilty of emotional outsourcing in a way where it is looking for external validation, and especially kind of untangling from a life of, kind of tradition, corporate, climbing the ladder,
sure.
and feeling like this doesn't feel like me at all. It doesn't, like I was
Yeah.
constantly dysregulated.
Yeah.
And I find that people that struggle with either burnout or feel like they are heading towards burnout, there is a challenge with actually feeling your feelings, because if you had to acknowledge it, you might have to do something about it. And there
Uh-huh.
is a safety
Oh,
in
yeah.
that. So, what does that look like in your world?
What does stepping out of it look like?
Well, I think identifying that you might be in a little bit of a pattern, maybe it is sleepwalking or a status quo thing, but then you almost ignore like I'm thinking about the dysregulation, right? Like the
Sure.
dysregulation shows up and it's really easy to try and quiet it until it takes over.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's what burnout does, right? It makes it so you simply cannot function in that false narrative, right? You
Yeah.
like have to take a seat because it's so exhausting to be someone we're not, right?
Yeah.
Takes up an awful lot of bandwidth. And so before we get into that, there's one thing you said that I'd like to address if you don't mind. Yeah,
Sure.
and offer a bit of a reframe. So
Okay.
I heard you say, I've been guilty of emotional outsourcing. And what I
Mm-hmm.
would like to lovingly, compassionately offer you is that we live out emotional outsourcing because it's the only way our nervous system knows to feel
Mm.
safe. Right. And so there's nothing to be guilty about. It was your mind, your body, your nervous system, your inner children, your limbic system keeping you from dying, which is what being authentic, owning our truth, doing what we actually want instead of what's expected of us, on and on. Our nervous system has that coded as the same as a lion, right? Coming up off the savannah to destroy us and our whole town. Right? So there's no guilt here. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I totally, I love it because one of the profound lessons that I feel like I have a beef. I have a beef with the personal development, kind of self development world that I feel like in many cases it's continuously pathologized
Oh
that
yeah.
something is wrong with you. And what
Right.
you're telling me and what you're reinforcing, what I'm learning in real time, is that we aren't broken. Our bodies
Nope.
are responding to us exactly as they should.
100%.
So, how do you start getting reconnected and identifying what's really happening of what is positive and what is maybe detrimental?
Yeah. Well, it starts with slowing down, which is
What if you
antithetical
don't
to
want to do
the
that? What if that feels impossible?
Well, so I think there's a difference between I don't consent to that, I don't want to do that, and it
Yeah.
feels impossible. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Okay.
Just keep burning out. Like and I'm not trying to like be weird here. Like if you
Yeah.
don't want to, then you should stay on the path you're on. That's your business. But if you don't want to burn out, if you want to reconnect with yourself, if you want to hear your own voice, then you get to slow down, come into quiet so you can hear you. Right? Because our brains they're meaning making machines. And so if they
Yeah.
learned, particularly ages 0 to 7, which is when our nervous system's getting its initial setting and is learning the story of what's safe and what's not safe within our family, our society, our world, those stories will reign supreme and will be the loudest voice in our brains, drowning
Hmm.
everything out until we slow down and recognize those aren't my thoughts. Those are my
Mm.
parents. That's society. That's my third grade teacher. Those aren't my thoughts. And then we can create space to hear our own thoughts. And I hear every busy, working full-time mom on the planet using some very choice Italian and maybe giving me the bird. You know what I mean? We're being very New York and New Jersey here. I'm
Right.
not going to flick off your audience, but it would be illustrative. But listen, right? I get it. You're busy and you pee. So if you're peeing as often as I am, how about every time you close the bathroom door, you
Mm.
take one breath? How about every time you're washing your hands, you take 2 breaths?
Mm.
This is what we're talking about, right? I'm a woman of like, I'm, let's be practical, right? And not say like you need to go on a 2-week Vipassana retreat on a mountaintop
Sure.
somewhere. That's untenable. It's not going to happen. But if every time you pour a glass of water, you take one breath, it's additive. Right? Because what we need to do is encourage the neural grooves in our brain to shift from go, go, go on the old narratives, go on the old track, abandon self towards safety, belonging, and value in everyone else's eyes.
Mm.
And we need to create new neural grooves that say it is safe, okay, but eventually a beautiful thing to listen to myself, right? And to hear my own voice. So we start with one breath, 2 breaths, and then we start asking questions in the most banal and non-threatening places ever. Right? So don't start this self-exploration by saying, should I stay with my husband? Should I leave my C-suite job and be right? Like put it down, walk away.
Yeah.
When you reach for coffee in the morning, before you reach for the creamer, ask yourself, wait, do I really like it light and sweet? Or has that just been my habit? Because that's what my mom did and her mom did and her. You see the like level of BS we're starting with?
Yes.
That's where our truth is. It's in the minutia. It's in the tiny granularity where we're running on autopilot.
Okay, so
I'm pausing. Yeah.
I have not resistance.
Yeah.
I don't have resistance.
Okay.
But I would love to have a reframe because I know what it's like. And I know that a lot of people listening know what it's like to be scheduled from the moment they get up to the moment they go to sleep.
Sure.
And it feels like Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
I love the concept of taking a breath. I am all for that. What I have noticed that from my own experience of slowing down is that I did not want to hear my voice. It was so scary to slow down because, first of all, my voice would not shut the fuck up in my head.
Yeah.
And I think understanding of like, it was very scary. It did feel like the lion. And I've heard you say, when you believe that your thoughts are true, you are stuck in that same pattern. There's no way to get out. And so I think it is kind of identifying the discernment of like maybe sitting in the discomfort of letting it be okay that your thoughts will race when you do slow down.
100%.
Like it feels so much more comfortable for me to just run a mile a minute because I know I'm successful at that. I am rewarded by society for that. However, the tax on it is my body, is the nervous system, is all of that. So can you help me unpack this and help us unpack what that's like and how we can kind of start to unwind and identify and know that we are safe when we don't feel safe, when our body is running the alarm bells.
Right. I mean, the other tax in addition to our physical health is our sense of self.
Yes.
And so I think this is challenging because it can sadly feel esoteric, right? But I just want to testify for how beautiful it is to be in touch with my true self and to know that every decision I'm making comes from actual desire within my body and not just habit. Right? And so maybe that's a great place to get started, is to pause and slow down and ask yourself why. Because it's hard to keep something up if you don't know why you're doing it, if you're not connecting it to your value system, to your ethics, to your morals, to your story, to what matters to you. So, what matters to you? And let that be the first place you start exploring what is actually valuable in your world, right? Like spending time with your family, spending time with yourself, what actually turns you on. And caveat for a lot of us who've been running a majillion miles a minute, you're not going to know, right? And so download a list of values and start there, right? Start with actually seeing from a written list of values from the internet. Just Google it. What matters to you, right? Like what's important in your world? And let that be the driver towards slowing down and stepping out of burnout and into authenticity so you can connect with it more, right? Now, well, I was going to say, so when your brain starts racing, from a Buddhist perspective, the work is to watch it. right? The work isn't, I was just coaching a client who was like, I loved how I felt after I meditated, but I couldn't get myself to sit still. So like I wasn't doing it right. Right. And I hear that a lot. Yeah. But number one, there's no right way to meditate, to do mindfulness, to be with yourself. And two, the goal isn't to change ourselves. It's not to slow our minds down. It's not to make our bodies be still. It's to be our own watcher and to realize that, right, that when we are the consciousness watching our consciousness, that's when we can really be intentional and choiceful in our lives. Because, right, we're not believing our thoughts. We're watching them, right? And we can make decisions about which thought we want to think and believe.
I love tying it all back to values too. And I think you talk often, like, I love the concept of the nervous system, and there's way more spotlight on it now. Like the Surgeon General just came out with parents are really struggling with burnout, with being overloaded with their nerves, their stress just being through the roof.
Heartbreaking. Yeah.
I know. And I know that you talk about the 4 different states of nervous system. Can you walk us through what those states are and maybe some symptoms that we can recognize of where we are and how to identify? Like, I think you also talked about like identifying versus observing, like identifying it as I own this is me, versus observing is like passing a cloud, which makes it less, again, just as we started this conversation of I'm a people pleaser for life.
For life.
It doesn't have
I'm
to be
screwed.
that way. So
no,
we are always in draft mode. We're always editing and evolving. So can you help us understand the different states of the nervous system and the symptoms?
Absolutely. And I really appreciate that you start with talking about it being a spectrum. We are constantly shifting. Yeah. So it can feel like we're stuck in a state, but know that your body always wants to come back to equilibrium. So the state I'm in right now is called ventral vagal. It's the safe and social part of the nervous system where we are capable of social engagement, social connection. We can ideate. Our bodies are working optimally. Thyroid's doing what it should. Reproductive system, digestion, cognition is optimal. Like you think most goodly here, which is a pretty nice place to be, right?
Yeah.
Collagen's having appropriate turnover. Like everything is,
I need more of that.
Listen, who doesn't? Collagen. I'll get some from my knees too while we're at it, right? Yeah, exactly. So everything works best in this state. It's the natural state of the human animal, right? We're pack animals. On the savanna of evolution, we are supposed to be in ventral vagal most of the time and have a little bit of the other states really when something happens. And so when something happens used to be the lion attack we've been talking about. So let's say you're out gathering berries outside your town, out on the savanna, right? And you see a lion. So you scream for someone to come support you, to help you, and no one comes. And it's scary because they're far away, right? You're not in imminent danger, but that lion's walking towards you. And so your body starts to activate fight or flight, sympathetic activation, adrenaline, norepinephrine. You start to get worked up. Your body starts to go faster, right? We start to get not towards anxious quite yet because we're just sort of grabbing the energy and moving it through the body, moving it to our hands and to our feet so we can punch or run, to the heart and to the lungs. And thinking slows down, eventually kind of stops because, well, let me ask you, Allison, if there's a lion hunting you, do you want to be able to do calculus?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. So do you want to digest it? Not so much. Okay, that's low on the list. What about digest a cheeseburger? Do you want your body to focus on that or like punch to the snout?
I probably would shit myself.
Well, yeah, that comes a little later. Okay, great. Good. Glad we got that like just fucking cleared up. So yeah, your body's like, I shan't digest, create thyroid hormone. Like, are you high? Like, what do you know? Freaking lion, get out of here. So everything gets laser focused on the thing that you're worried about. So that's the evolutionary biological nervous system. What does this look like? We started the show before we hit record, I'm a New Yorker, you're from New Jersey. That's what sympathetic looks like. It looks like anxiety. It looks like panic. It looks like worked up. It looks like I didn't get enough likes on my post. It looks like my mother-in-law didn't respond. It looks like he said something mean, and we ruminate, we obsess, we focus. It's the pinpoint thing, because that thing in our life has become a lion, right? It's just swapped places in our experience, right? And we spin on that thing. It takes over our whole life if we let it. And we spend life being anxiously looking for the next lion, the next lion, the next lion, the next lion, because everything is a lion. That's sort of one extreme, is going into panic, into sympathetic. A little bit of sympathetic activation is our get up and go, right? We wouldn't survive crossing the street if we didn't have like a little bit of adrenaline, right? A little bit of being alive and alert, right? So it's not all bad. It's the extremes that take us out of self and into this activated state. The opposite end is you've spent all day chased by lions, chased by lions, chased by lions, chased by, and eventually you're like, you know what? I'm lunch. It's fine. Like I cannot run anymore. This is burnout. This is depression. This is everything slows down because I just friggin' can't anymore, right? In Spanish, we say, no doy más. I can give no more. You're just like, basta to everything. And that's called dorsal. Yeah. So that is just, there's several sort of different sort of energetics within dorsal. But it's disconnection. It's checked out. You could be frozen, which is a sort of activated kind of like, oh my God, the lions are coming, but I can't move. I can't do anything, but like I'm anxious about it, but I'm frozen, right? And then 10 out of 10 dorsal is being catatonic, right? You're just completely turned off. And so it's very rare that we're at like 10 out of 10 panic or 10 out of 10 who's catatonic. You know what I mean? But that dorsal shows up as everything is slowed. Everything. Wait, what? Oh, I'm sorry. You asked me a question, but I was in dorsal. I don't even know where I was. I feel like I remember my mom when we were kids just sort of like staring off into the middle distance. And now I know she was overwhelmed working mother. My sister and I were a handful, and she was probably just right in dorsal, just like, what? That's overwhelm, right? In the like, I can't. And overwhelm in sympathetic is I have to. And dorsal's just good enough. I can't.
Is that kind of like a numbness, you know?
Yeah, a numbness, a checked out, a just not present in a very slow, spaced out way versus the not present of sympathetic, which is, well, but I gotta do the next thing. I gotta go. I gotta. Right. And so either state can sort of become our steady state when it's the habit of our nervous system to go to there, which again, we get the settings for what's normal, what's natural, what's our response, ages 0 to 7, from either in opposition to what we experienced growing up or modeled on what we experienced growing up. Our nervous system decides what's normal and what's a lion. And so often as an adult, we're not raising our hand in the boardroom. And I'm not talking about you, writ large, us, because every time we spoke up, our dad let us know we were dumb and we weren't saying it right. Or every time we spoke up, our mom was off in the middle distance and was like, sure, honey, whatever. We didn't get attuned to in one way or another. That is then alive in our nervous system and gets activated in our adult lives. And we project that wounding from childhood onto the here and now. and react to our adult lives like hurt little kids with our partners, with our parents, with our kids in the boardroom, in every area of life. And so a dysregulated nervous system is one that tends to be outside of ventral vagal, bouncing around in these past wounds and past ways of responding instead of being in the here and now, right? In our authenticity, in internal safety, in interdependence. And so when I said it really behooves us to slow down, to find some stillness, it's so we can ask ourselves, like you were saying, what state am I in? Is this supportive? Right? Like, is it helpful for me to be a bit revved up right now? Maybe, right? Or do I actually want to chill out a little bit? I had a long day and I'm making a conscious decision to watch Schitt's Creek, right? Phenomenal show. Like, do I want to just chill out and be present with that? You can make that choice, but we're not making choices when we're driven by the past and when we're driven by our nervous system on autopilot, right?
The autopilot to me feels like just a general disconnection.
Yeah.
And it sometimes allows you to outwardly be more productive that way. And I think the relearning is that productivity does not equal value.
100%.
I wonder what you see in the people that come to you. What would you say is one of the biggest misconceptions around this, that people's understanding, if it could be updated?
Yeah.
This framework may work a little bit better to help maybe ease the suffering, ease some of the pain, and even potentially identify and heal something that maybe we're just not aware of. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, the nervous system state my clients tend to be in is called functional freeze, which is a combination of these two states where
what is
we
functional
are.
freeze?
Yeah, it's a great term. So we're functional on the outside, meaning we're not catatonic, right? We're in productivity. We're functioning within the framework of capitalism. We're functioning within our family structures. We're functioning within the world as it currently is. We're paying our bills. We're paying our mortgage. We're going to work. The children are fed and washed, right? And so are the clothes and the pets and the everything else. But we're frozen to our own emotions. We're frozen within ourselves. We're not present, right? We're not living in our authenticity. We're going. And because we're checked out from our truth and our intentionality, we don't realize how we're wearing down our bodies and our spirits, right? And so I think there's this misunderstanding that if we're getting stuff done and we're getting those accolades you were talking about earlier, those like atta girls, that we're living our lives in the way that's best for us. Right? And I think it's, again, when we slow down that we can just ask if that's true or not, which to your point is really scary. That's really scary. I'm well aware of this, right? But when we ask that question, we can do what you did. Like, you walking away from corporate the way you did. Thank you for modeling that, right? Come on now. Because
I don't know that I would recommend the approach I took, but okay.
Listen.
I don't regret my decision at all. It's been an amazing thing, but I think, I'm curious to see, you talked about there's a difference between calming the nervous system versus healing the nervous system. Help me understand the difference and help us understand perhaps, like, okay, you're taking some breaths, you're slowing down, then what?
Right. So when we call them the nervous system, it's what we're all seeing on Instagram and TikTok, right? These 60-second exercises to like bring your nervous system back down. But the thing is, that's not the work, right? We were just talking about a mindfulness practice in which we become our watcher and we become the consciousness watching ourselves, right? When what we're doing is, I'm having big feelings, calm it down. We're not repatterning within our nervous system, right? Having big feelings is okay. right? So my having huge feelings was not okay growing up. I don't think it was
Yeah.
for most of us, right? It was
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
problem, right? It was
Right.
calm down. You're being too loud. You're being too much. Go to your room, right? It was, this is not acceptable. And the
Right.
way we step into our authenticity in a full way is for our whole self to not just be acceptable, but to be invited in, to be the guest of honor. And the way we do that is by letting ourselves have the big sad, the big angry, the big happy, the big
Mm.
disappointed, the big frustrated, and
Yeah.
feel it and be with it without telling it it's wrong, it's bad, it needs to be shut down, to hush, to go away. And so when our focus is on calming the nervous system, what are we telling our nervous system? All of you is not okay. All of you is not welcome here.
Uh-huh.
This is too much. Oof. Okay. So then the next question, how do we make it so it doesn't feel like it's going to kill us?
Yeah.
Right? Because like it can feel really scary. And it starts by letting ourselves feel one little percent of a feeling that was labeled too much
Mm.
and welcoming it in. That's how we create safety for our emotions within our nervous system, which is the real healing work.
It
Right?
sounds like it requires self-compassion, which is something we were also never taught.
Yeah, right? Big
Mm-hmm.
time, right? Yeah. Gentleness, curiosity, compassion. And so
Mm-hmm.
curiosity for me is the best way in, is to ask myself, what else are you feeling? Right? You know, you'll watch, like I watch the way my sister is with her kids, and they'll have like some big huge feeling and they'll tell her the whole story, and then she'll say, okay, my baby, what else? Well, and then he took my file talk and I didn't like it. What else, baby? Right? So how can we start to speak to ourselves? Like we have a 13-year-old Chihuahua. He's a jerk. And I talk to him like like he's a newborn labradoodle who's tender and loving, because I recognize he's doing
Mm-hmm.
the best he can, which is
Hmm.
pretty lousy, by the way. And I love him and I talk to him tenderly. So how can you talk to yourself like a 13-year-old Chihuahua? You're not going to yell at you for peeing on the floor. You weigh 12 pounds. You know what I'm saying?
But
Right?
I think that again, it is the reinforcement that talking to somebody um, as if they did the best they could,
Yeah.
um, given the circumstances, given the social conditioning. I think the challenge is we may eviscerate ourselves
Yeah.
internally. We should have done better, more,
Right.
different,
Right.
smarter, whatever it is.
Whatever.
And I wonder if it is just an extra heaping of
Mhm.
self-compassion and letting it
Yes.
be okay that
Yes.
your
Yes.
body is and mind are operating exactly as it should. You're just
100%.
repatterning
Yeah.
a new pathway that is going to be healthy and
Yes.
also going to lead to more healing. Is that
Right.
right?
100%. I keep lots of pictures of little me all over my desk.
Uh-huh.
Right? Like the wallpaper on my phone is baby me, because I
Right.
need to remember who I'm being mean to.
Yeah.
Right? Like a sweet little girl who is just doing her best. And when I'm passive aggressive, oh, I learned that growing up. When I'm aggressive, oh, I learned that growing up, right? Like we're
Yeah.
literally using the neural circuits that we were trained and taught to have, right? It's not like, it would be unfair of me to expect my 13-year-old Chihuahua to do my taxes or to not bite. Those are two skills he does not have. Do you know
Uh-huh.
what I mean? And so when we're unkind to ourselves, we get to remind ourselves we're being mean to an 8-year-old, to a 6-year-old, to a 4-year-old. It was a 3-year-old little baby you that learned if you're too joyful, it's going to make your unhappy parent be really pissed at you.
Mm,
And so
mm.
you learn to hold that in. Right? When you are, God, we were talking about this one with my clients the other week. there's this really common thing where if we have an expectation of some kind of attunement or attention and don't get it, our whole world collapses. Here's the story.
Yeah.
A client of mine had some really great thing happen at work, texted her husband, I have exciting news. I'm excited to talk about it. Gets home and she's like, babe, can we talk about this thing that happened at work? And he's like, oh my God, absolutely. I'm so stoked. Tell me all about it. And she starts and his phone buzzes and he does what any normal human in this time and place will do, which is look at the phone.
Right.
In a millisecond, the 4-year-old who wasn't paid attention to inside her goes, abort, walk away, run away. Nope, no, we're not being listened to. And she says, actually, don't worry about it. Tell me about your day. And we so skillfully do the things we learned to do to survive that even though all she wanted was attention and all he wanted was to pay attention to her, in that moment of rupture, we self-abandon, we step away from the project, and we do really smart things like put the attention on someone else because someone else is always more important than us, right? Right.
There we are with emotional outsourcing.
Outsourcing it to someone else.
More important than us.
Way more important.
Wow. Now we're flipping the script. I want to talk about Anchored. Tell me about your program that's coming out in November.
I love it. It's really my favorite place on earth. So
what is it?
It's a 6-month coaching program where we use mindset coaching based in cognitive behavioral theory, somatic experiencing. I train through Peter Levine's institute, so I bring that work in, and we do somatic work. Soma means body in Greek, so it's body-based practices, so that when that 4-year-old speaks up and says, I'm not being listened to, we have a set of skills and practices that we can use to help that part of us to feel held, to feel loved, to bring new curiosity, compassion, and care into our lives. I also bring breathwork into it. So it's a group coaching program. It is amazing. It's just the best thing in my entire world. And it's 6 months of coaching every single week and really having this interdependent community to really support us, to care for us. Because that's the work, right? Is stepping into more interdependence where we can really lean on each other, right? And get support and care to step out of burnout.
I don't think that can be stressed enough how we as a society and even Surgeon General is coming out. It's an epidemic of loneliness. Of how powerful it is to not go through this alone, because 100%. We feel and we have been taught you don't go and ask for help because you're the fixer a lot of times. So exactly, what happens when you're in a trusted environment where you can lay down your armor and know you're going to be safe and protected and held and facilitated and all of that? So what a beautiful community you are doing. How can people get in touch with you? I know you have your podcast, Feminist Wellness. How can people get in touch with you and work with you?
Right on. So you can learn more about Anchored at victoriaalbina.com/anchored. And I made a special treat just for your listeners, a little present. Oh. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. So if you go to victoriaalbina.com/late learner, you can download a suite of meditations, nervous system exercises, inner child exercises, beautiful practices that are yours to keep forever for free, just for being a listener to this show.
I'm going to put it in the show notes so you can go and get that. But Victoria, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your work and for your heart and your spirit. It is needed. And thank you for giving us a place to let us know we are whole and there's nothing wrong with us. Our bodies are doing what they should. But now it's time to upgrade the software a little bit.
That's right. Thank you.
Wow. Big thank you to Victoria Albina. This episode is also up on YouTube. If you want to see her, share it, whatever. She has got a super lively and engaging personality, and it was a total joy interviewing her. I've linked all of her links in the show notes. But as for you, what is one thing you've late learned from this episode? I would love to know. And my DMs are truly one of my favorite ways to engage and build relationships with you. I want to hear from you. And also, will you share this with one friend right now? Somebody who wants something new and exciting and different, but gets maybe a little stuck trying to figure out where to start. Who popped in your head when I talked about that? That's who I want you to share this with. And if you are looking for support to grow yourself into the newest era, the newest version of yourself, but you're not sure where to start, I invite you to book a free brainstorming strategy call with me. You never know. It could be the catalyst that changes everything for the better for you. Go to AllisonHare.com/schedule. And as always, thank you so much for listening. You're sharing this in your own communities and using these applications in your life and changing the culture. If I don't see you on the socials before the next time, I'll see you right here on Late Learner Podcast, where the next episode drops next Thursday.